Welcome to Sectors Up Close. I'm Elena Casas. Today we're talking Israeli stocks, and my guest is Steven Schoenfeld, CEO of MarketVector. Israel has long been a high-tech pioneer. Tech accounts for 15% of its economic output, more than half its exports, and a quarter of its tax income. Israeli tech firms raised $26 billion from foreign investors in 2021. But some in the sector say that is now at risk from a proposed judicial reform that would strengthen political control over the legal system and weaken the Israeli Supreme Court's ability to rule against government action. The tech industry says an independent legal system is crucial to protecting their intellectual property. Many tech workers have joined marches against the law in recent days, while a number of key firms say they're moving investor funds out of Israel. This is the iShares MSCI Israel ETF, down nearly 5% this month as protests grow against the law. 34% of this index is financials and 25% technology firms, but it's tech that's at the heart of Israel's economy. But how long will that last? Let's ask Steven Schoenfeld of MarketVector. Steven, hi, thanks for joining us. To start with then, how did Israel become such a tech startup hub to begin with?
So Israel's commonly known as the startup nation, although in the last 10 years it's become also the scale-up nation. From the beginning, Israel as a country has been a startup, and its tech economy, which has been bolstered by immigration, innovation, the highest R&D spending in the world, has been a hub in almost every disruptive theme and disruptive sector. The term firewall was invented in Israel, and Israel's a cyber security leader. Drip irrigation and agritech is another major Israeli strength. It's a small country in the desert, and it had to innovate. Defense tech, by necessity, has been a strength. And so the combination of investment, good education system, a very vibrant, immigration-friendly society, and necessity has made it such a tech powerhouse. Most people consider the Israeli innovation economy the second most important tech ecosystem in the world after Silicon Valley.
This is a tough time, though, globally, Steven, for tech startups. Everyone's struggling to attract venture capital. So are Israeli firms going to be able to make the most of it?
So Israeli venture and mezzanine funding has in fact dropped from the very high number that you mentioned for 2021. It went down to about 15 billion, but that's still 50% above its number for 2020. So Israel's capital raising has, of course, declined, but good companies in innovative sectors continue to raise. Just last week, Wiz raised $300 million at a $10 billion valuation, a decacorn, even during these tough times.
Now, there is, as I was saying, a lot of concern about this judicial reform being enacted by Benjamin Netanyahu's government. How worried do you think investors should be about the legal and political environment?
So there has been an enormous amount of concern about this from civil society, from tech entrepreneurs, and across Israel. Foreign investors are also concerned. The credit rating agencies are watching. However, the companies themselves have not stopped innovating. They haven't stopped working. And as many people know, Israeli tech companies are uniquely global. Whether they're listed in Tel Aviv or New York or London, they operate globally. And even if some of their local operations, they don't fund them out of Israel, they fund them out of New York, I don't think it's going to dramatically affect the performance of the companies themselves.
What are your picks then, Steven, in this space? You mentioned earlier that agricultural technology and renewable energy are particularly interesting here.
Yeah, so one great company that very few people know is Israeli is Ormat Technologies. Ormat is a world leader in geothermal technology. Israel itself doesn't have geothermal resources, but Ormat operates around the world. Also in that same space, SolarEdge is the world's leader in making solar panels more efficient. Again, it's the technology behind the actual panels that they are a world leader in. In other sectors that Israel is a leader in cybersecurity, aside from Check Point, which literally coined the term firewall. CyberArk is another leader in the space that works on internal security of companies. So these are some of the areas I would definitely look at. And I would also consider a broad basket of Israeli tech across all the sectors that it's a leader in.
Just briefly then, Stephen, how should investors be approaching Israeli tech firms for the first time? Should you be focusing on the US traded shares of these companies, or is it aiming to buy an ETF?
So if investors look at their existing portfolio, they're most likely not to have, they won't have much exposure in Israeli stocks. So the best way would be a dedicated allocation to Israeli tech. There are ETFs that track the aforementioned Blue Star Israel Global Tech Index, ticker is iTech in the United States. There are also Israeli listed ETFs that track the same index. We think that's a great way for investors to supplement their developed market exposure. Developed markets in general have relatively low tech exposure. Adding Israel to your developed market exposure adds diversification and adds tech.
Well, thanks so much for joining us, Steven Schoenfeld, CEO of MarketVector. Well, that's our roundup of the Israeli tech sector. I'm Elena Casas, and this is Reuters.